Today on CityCast Boise, we've covered some big, hairy topics about our four-legged friends recently. In the final days of our Dog Days of Boise series, we're barking about the biggest question of all. Is Boise the best city in America to be a dog? Lead producer Frankie Barnhill is here to help me sniff out the answer. It's Tuesday, September 5th. I'm Emma Arnold, and this is what Boise's talking about. Hi, Frankie.
Hey, Emma.
Well, kind of mixed feelings here because this is the final episode in our Dog Days of Boise series. We have covered a lot, huh?
Oh my gosh, we have done so much. It is kind of sad that it's our final episode, but it's been such a fun series. First episode, we talked with Shelley Volsch. She's an anthropologist at Boise State about why dogs love us back. Yes, they do love us just as much as we love them, but they might show it in different ways than humans do, obviously. We also talked with Jennifer Adkins from West Valley Humane Society. Remember that chat?
Oh, I never forget it. Getting chills just thinking about it.
I know. It. Yes, she told us about their capacity issues, but then also about how West Valley and other humane societies, other shelters in the area get sent dogs from other states because truly people from other states see the Treasure Valley as a place that dogs get adopted into good homes, which is really cool. You talked with Jimmy Dawson, contributor Jimmy Dawson, about pet peeves, human pet peeves, rather, like the age-old questions of dog poop pickup and stuff like that, etiquette at dog parks. Also, remember we chatted with Rosie Piper. She's a TikTok creator.
Such a sweetie.
Oh my gosh, yes. And she's proud to call herself a dog parent. And we talked about the idea of dog parenting versus dog ownership these days. And then your dog trainer, Allison Bittner with Clever Paws. She was so great, and she answered a lot of listener and reader questions about how to train your dog without fear being the method, right? And then you and I chatted a little bit about Boise's vet shortage. And then we did like a big old guide about best patios, trails, bars, all the best places to take your dog. So yeah, that brings us to today.
And, in case people are wondering, it's because we had this ultimate question that was, can we crown ourselves the dog-friendliest city in America? Remind me why we wanted to ask that question.
Yeah, because all of those damn lists, people are talking about us. We're on lists for all kinds of things these days. And one of them that caught my eye earlier was from Forbes. It was titled Best Cities for Dogs 2023. Pretty straightforward. No shade at the national reporters who were creating this ranking and how they created it, but they put us 16th on the list.
Yeah, but they were wrong.
They were wrong. I do not agree.
No.
Especially because they put us behind bigger cities like San Francisco, Chicago, New York, and there were some like regional rivals that got me all, jazzed and feeling territorial like Denver and Portland. So we thought we should investigate this question and really get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. And how did we go about answering it? Because we did some pretty thorough research here.
Truly, we did. Yeah, I really put on my investigative journalism hat for this series. But truly, we've heard from so many people from our Hey Boise newsletter who've written in, who've sent us dog photos, who've given us recommendations, who've told us horror stories, who've told us great stories about their dogs. And then, of course, also we've heard some stories that have some big feelings attached to this question of whether or not we can call ourselves the most dog-friendly city in America.
And, okay, we'll try to keep to points here, but why don't we start with dog parks?
That's a great place to start, I think. You're right. It's like the first thing you think of where to take your dog is to a dog park. Point in favor, big time. We have the most dog parks per capita of any city in America. And that's according to the Trust for Public Land. We have lots of options. We've talked about them so much throughout the series, fenced options, unfenced, sanctioned off-leash fun, trails, all of that. So I think that's a big point in our favor.
And I'm sorry, not to be a jerk, but we have way more faster, easier access to off-leash trails than Chicago or even Denver.
Hell yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Totally. I think from trails, we win. It's big point in favor. Absolutely.
So what about people places that are friendly to dogs, like restaurants, patios, that sort of thing? Do we get a
Yeah.
point for that? I feel like we probably do.
I think we mostly do. I think like we've talked about, like pretty much every brewery, just almost assume that you're going to be able to take your dog somewhere at the brewery. Lots of patios, like coffee shops, Push and Pour. They love dogs. We know that patio season also is really long in Boise. So in essence, you can kind of take your dog to a lot of these places year round if they allow them on their patios. As far as indoor spots that allow dogs that are meant for humans primarily, it could probably be a little bit more. I feel like maybe it's like, I think it is a point in favor in the end, but maybe that's an area that we could do even better on in the future.
Like a half point even, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a half point. Yeah, let's do a half point.
We know there's like a lot of pet-centric stores in the Treasure Valley. I think, like, can we count that as a point in our favor?
I think so. I'm not going to say that we have necessarily more than other cities, but I just feel like the staff at these places, they're just so knowledgeable. They're really up to speed on like what's going on with dogs at the given time. Like they're going to tell you about ticks, and they're going to tell you depending on what part of the season it is. So I think we should say yes. I think it's a point in our favor for all of the places that the dog economy, I guess you could say. Yeah.
How about veterinarians, though? Because we did do an episode all about the vet shortage.
Yeah, I think this one's complicated, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, the shortage is a national one. So it's not like it's just Boise is experiencing this, or there's something we're doing wrong specifically that other places aren't. So there's like bigger forces at work here. We talked a little bit about how, Idaho doesn't have a veterinarian school. And so that means that if you live in Idaho, you're growing up here, you want to become a vet, you have to go elsewhere to learn how to do so. And then you have to choose to move back to Idaho and find a job here. And wages, depending on where you try to get a job, we know that at shelters, they're nonprofits, so the wages are less competitive there. So shelter veterinarians, oh my gosh, they're just like angels because they just are doing so much for those dogs in need, especially, and they're busy. And so I don't know. I feel like this one, it can be hard to find the vet that you want. And maybe you would get into the clinic in general, but maybe you wouldn't see that particular vet, or the appointment would have to be made a ways out. So I don't know. When I made calls around, it was like most places I called were accepting new dog patients, but it might be that like the location isn't exactly where you want. What do you think?
Yeah, that's tough because I think I have the best vet in the world. So Boise Bench,
which is great.
Animal Hospital, shouting you out again because I love you so much.
Yeah,
I think, I've never been to a vet in Boise that I didn't think was pretty incredible.
Yes,
but that said, I have had friends who said, "Oh my gosh, we are having such a hard time finding a vet." So almost a neutral, almost no point, or half a point, another half
maybe
point.
Maybe half point.
Young people in Boise seem to be more and more cool with having fur babies. And we did a really fun episode with Rosie about that. Rosie Piper. Is dog parenting, the whole, like, this is my child, accepted more here, do you think? Or I think of Boise as being kind of an older city, so maybe there's a generational thing there?
I feel like it is pretty generational. I think it's getting better. But my personal opinion is probably no. I think most people, when you say, "Oh, I'm a dog parent," are going to go, "What?"
Even at the dog park. I think even at Dog Island, if you say that, you're going to get some raised eyebrows for sure. My child, my fur baby, right? I think people kind of still feel it, think it's kind of silly, think it's like a big city thing to think of our dogs like that or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like it's changing a little bit. I think it is generational. And to be real, like, it is so expensive to raise a human child. Don't have to tell me, my God. I'm just throwing money at BSU right now all the time, so I get it.
Daphne does not, my dog Daphne does not need to go to college. So, I think it's a no in this. I feel like I want to challenge Boise to get cooler with the idea of pet parenting, I guess.
I agree. And I completely think you're right about that for now, it seems like maybe because we're an older city, when you say this is the choice, I'm having this.
Yeah.
This is my kid.
Right.
This dog is my kid. I have 3 kids. I still consider my dogs my kids. I don't know how you don't. They're literally helpless boobs. So how are they not?
Yes.
Like even
They
your
don't
dog
work.
who is so smart. They don't work. They're not paying rent. How are they not a child? Tell me that. How about renting? I know it can be really tough to rent in Boise in certain areas, but overall, easy or hard?
I have seen it improve in recent years, but it's still really expensive. Like I lived recently in a downtown, one of those new downtown apartments that like one of the amenities was you can have a dog here, but it was a $300 deposit. And then every month I spent an extra $50 for dog rent, right? Mm-hmm. If I had a human baby, they weren't going to charge me extra $50 for the
Which,
human
by the
baby.
way, way more destructive. But I've had both. Right? A dog might chew up your carpet. A child is going to do way worse to that carpet for sure. So.
Right. Exactly. So, it can add up to a lot of money. I wouldn't say that this is necessarily a thing that Boise does a lot worse than other cities. I think same kind of, we'll see restrictions on certain breeds. That's still a thing. It's getting better, but I'm going to say, maybe a half point at the most, maybe neutral.
No point. I'm giving you no point.
No point. Yeah.
No point, landlords of Boise, because I've heard so many horror stories from people who, like you said, steep deposit, dog rent for Chip. When in our old apartment, this was before we had Bev, I had to pay $75 a month for Chip, who again is literally a throw pillow. Yeah. Like does not move off of the couch except to go to the bathroom and then straight back to the couch. So I always just thought that was sort of ridiculous, and especially because like you do a damage deposit and all that, which nobody. I don't know if you know this. Nobody's ever gotten back in their entire life.
You don't get it back. You don't get it. This is literally you just won't see it.
I have deep cleaned every apartment I have ever moved out of and never seen a dime of that.
Yeah.
So.
Just assume if you have a dog at a rental, you will not see that money coming back ever. And they'll almost use it, I think, as an excuse to not take the money, not take any money back.
Absolutely. Anything else in favor or against that we heard from our audience?
Yeah, I do want to share a couple stories. These are kind of longer, but I think it's worth hearing. Here's one, a big one in favor that made me smile when I read it. This is from Hey Boise reader, Sydney. She says, we moved here from Portland, Oregon exactly 1 year ago with our black lab border collie Mutt. It became pretty clear that even though she had lived her whole life in Portland, she was much calmer in Boise. We suspect it has to do with 1, less activity and noise, and 2, being able to be with us more, and 3, the ability to exercise in wide open spaces with people who are okay with dogs. That last point has been the best part for us. We trail run all the time. The overall attitude toward dogs out on the trail has been so refreshing. People are okay with dogs being dogs, and they're even happy about it. Because of that attitude, it has made going out with our girls so much more fun. Boise's dog friendliness has been one of the biggest brags we tell our friends about. So I think that's a big point in favor. Sydney brought up a lot of things, including, it kind of wraps up a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about. But counterpoint from Cheryl. I do think it's interesting to hear from people who've recently moved here because they're able to give us a comp from another city. Cheryl says, as new residents of the Treasure Valley, we've been disappointed with how not dog-friendly the Treasure Valley is. There are a few bright spots like Payette Brewery and Morrison Park, the Greenbelt, and the Pooch Party at Lakeside Park in Nampa that just happened a couple weeks ago. But sadly, we run into no dog signs and messages far more than we expected. What's with the hate? And then she talks specifically about a few places, not in Boise proper. I'll give Boise proper the cred there, that mostly very friendly. But, once you get outside of Boise, like Indian Creek Plaza, apparently they don't allow dogs. And she says, would love to let my dog be able to splash around there. She even said like the Black Canyon Reservoir in Emmett, different places like in Star, they wanted to take their dogs to a Friday concert series and the dogs weren't allowed to that. So I don't know. Cheryl's got some interesting points, and she came from a place that was more friendly. So kind of interesting.
That is interesting. And I'm very surprised that Indian Creek Plaza doesn't allow dogs, because that seems like a perfect place to take your dog in the evening and go down there. So, yeah. Well, maybe it hasn't it's kind of started in Boise, but hasn't sort of bled out to the rest of the valley.
I think that might be it, is like, it's starting, exactly, within our city limits. And then as you go further out, might be a little bit more old school ideas around dogs and where they belong and where they don't belong.
Sure. And rural ideas,
Totally.
like, when I was a kid, dogs were not allowed in the house. Like, dogs were outside creatures, dogs and cats.
100%. Yep.
So, and they were, those dogs paid rent too. Like, they were workers. They were working dogs. So,
totally.
Yeah.
It is. I do think there's a rural urban divide we're hearing a little bit with how dog friendly places are.
Any final thoughts before we tally things up here? I haven't been keeping track of the points, so I really have no idea what we're at.
I think I've been trying to keep up. Okay, I think I've mostly kept up with them. But yeah, I would say be sure to go check out our photo gallery of our dogs that people have sent in. We've heard from so many people who've sent their really adorable dog photos. Of course, your Chip and Bev are on the website too. So
Bev got top billing.
She did. She deserves it.
She's wearing a tiny hat from the Hawks, so how can you resist her? I know we had kind of talked in the beginning about rating people's, like, rating dogs and giving out awards, and I'm glad we nixed that, because
it would have been too hard.
Too hard.
I could
These
never
dogs are so cute.
They're all 12 out of 10 at least,
Yes, at least. Okay, so drum roll here. Let's tally up these scores. What do you think?
I'm pretty sure we've got 5 points in favor that we are the dog friendliest city and 3 against. So I don't know. I feel like maybe we should just I don't know. My thought is let's claim the crown, and then we might lose it next year if we don't do better. If Denver and Portland all of a sudden start being way cooler than about dogs than us, then we need to hand it back. But that's my thought, is let's claim it for ourselves and challenge ourselves to hold on to it.
I'm a little torn on this, because I tend to trust experts. And we asked a couple of the experts. We asked Shelley Volsch and Allison Bittner from Clever Paws, and they both said no. They both were like, I think we have a lot more. We need to do better. We need to do more. So I'm going to say that we are well on our way to being one of the dog friendliest cities, but we got to get better vets. We got to get this no fear training more popular.
Yep. Rentals, get it together.
Get it together. Yeah. Yep. I think Boise, my opinion is you're doing pretty good. We could do a lot better. So, and also,
fair enough.
You could prove me wrong. Clear out West Valley, Boise. They have so many dogs right now, and they are really desperate. So if you adopt all of the dogs this next couple weeks, I'll give the crown. I'll hand it over.
Oh my God. Can I just say though, I'm so happy to hear that 2 of the dogs you talked about in that episode did get adopted. Pelican, who you were very attached to when you were looking him up online, he did get adopted out.
I was looking at him for months, trying to, and every day talking myself out of him. So whoever adopted Pelican, thank you, because we do not need another animal in this house right now. So you really, from my husband especially, thank you for adopting Pelican. Well, thanks to everybody who wrote in with dog training questions or shared an adorable photo of their dog or weighed in on the pesky questions about pets and restaurants. We had so much fun doing this, Frankie. This has been such a blast.
It really has. It really has. And I love your dogs. I love all your dogs.
Yep. We love your dogs, Boise. And one more doggy data point to share before we sign off. Did you know that the Boise City Council did a big update to its animal code a couple years ago? Under the new law, if you see a dog left in a locked hot car, you're protected from liability and can break a window to rescue the pup. Just be sure to call 911 first. There's other new parts to the law, too. We'll put a link in the show notes. That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, check out our website for all our online guides to dogs in Boise. We'll be back tomorrow morning with the best places to get a drive-thru burger instead of In-N-Out. Bye!